Hello everybody, my name is Sam of spawnroom.com, and today I'm going to get back into CSGO match analysis. I haven't done one in a while, mostly just because I've been working on other projects and stuff, and then actually I also switched over. I was doing like these match analysis things, which are like long, overanalyzed, like basically just crazy long like match analysis. And for a lot of people, especially if you play a lot of CSGO, they might be pretty redundant. They might not be like that deep, for you. But too bad. It's probably not really for you then. It's actually just it's more designed for new players and noobs and stuff like that who are trying to, they either just picked up the game or they've been playing a while and they underestimate some of the little things in the game. Something like that. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to start doing some match analysis more because, for two reasons. One, I just want to do it. It's kind of fun. And two, I'm hoping to get better, So at some point, I'd like to start doing more in-depth match analysis, something that is actually useful to more advanced players. But I'm probably just not there yet. It's been so busy that I don't really have that much time to dedicate to unraveling the deep levels of Counter-Strike strategy. At least not yet, but hopefully in the future I will. Before we jump into the game and watch it's from the ESL finals. Virtus Pro versus Ninjas in Pyjamas. It's on the first map of the grand finals, which was on Mirage. And we're just going to take a look at it. The way I do this, if you haven't watched previous videos, is I will watch part of it, like a short little, maybe 15 seconds, maybe a minute, I don't know. I'll watch a little bit, and then I pause it, and then I jump around from guy to guy, and I talk about their positioning and all this sort of stuff. I think it can be useful, but if you're, it's not like casting. If you're coming into this thinking it's going to be like me just casting a game and talking about strategy, you're going to get frustrated because I'm going to be pausing a lot. So, too bad. Yeah, before I jump into the game, I just wanted to bring up two things actually. Okay, so if you go to spawnroom.com/app/downloads.html, I added a new page, and actually you can access this from the homepage. You don't have to memorize that address. If you just go to spawnroom.com and you click podcast MP3s, it'll bring you to the same page. This page, so as I mentioned, I'm pretty busy most of the time, and it's hard for me to constantly be following esports along with all the other things that I'm interested in. So I was looking for, when I made the esports bulletin broadcast, which if you haven't seen that, you can watch old episodes. I'm actually thinking about doing it again just for fun, but it was like a super fast 5 to 10 minute coverage of everything going on in esports. It was kind of designed for people like me who don't have that much time, and we just need let's go. I want to keep up with esports, but I don't have that much time to be reading all the articles and stuff. Just give me a quick recap. That's what it was. That same sort of objective went into this page. I've basically just been converting all the podcasts that aren't MP3s into MP3s because I am often away from home, and I almost always have my iPod with me and my earbuds in, and I listen to all sorts of other podcasts, but I don't have that many esports podcasts, mostly because the people who are making these podcasts don't release MP3s. So I'm going to do the work for them because it benefits me. And I figure if I'm going to do it for myself, I might as well just put them on the site and let people download them. So as you can see, inside the game, this just aired last night. You can download. If you just click on it, it goes straight to an MP3, download it. That's great. For other ones, Meta Episode 22, which has got Artosis, they talk about StarCraft. This is an external link. It goes right to their homepage because they already release it in MP3. I'm not going to release an MP3 that's already out there. So the other thing I'm going to do is for podcasts I enjoy, if they already release an MP3, I'm just going to list it here. So it'll be a kind of a quick little resource for finding those. As I said, you can get to it right meow. The other thing I wanted to mention really quickly too is the esports ad block whitelist, which is right here. This opens this thing. It might look kind of strange, but all it is a text file that you copy and you paste it into ad block. You add your own filter. I think it was, no, it's right here. Add filter subscription. You click, nope. Add a different subscription. Title it whatever you want. Enter that URL. And what it does is it has tons and tons of esports sites. You can see there's like hundreds of them. These ones are dead. But there's like, you know, a couple hundred or 300 or whatever, I don't know. Basically, it's if you want ad block running because you hate ads and a lot of them are annoying, you can still run ad block but also support esports by enabling this list. Pretty simple, but maybe useful to a number of people who are running, you know, little community websites and stuff that rely on advertising revenue to support their goals and objectives and things. So if you feel generous, you can add that to your ad block. Okay, so let's jump into the game finally. As you can see, I already launched the demo, and let's resume. As I said, this is Virtus Pro versus Ninjas in Pyjamas on Mirage, and this was part of the grand finals, the first map that they played against each other. Okay, cool, the map is working. For a while I thought it wasn't. So let's take a, let's just take a look at their positioning right off the bat. So they sent Pyjamas. I'm probably gonna brutally get these names wrong, but bear with me. So they sent Pyjamas, I'll say, towards mid. He will engage with Get Right, looks like. And the rest of the team is going to be camping out just near the stairs by point A. Which is kind of interesting, right? They don't have, like, if we're approaching this from an amateur perspective now, when we, you know, like as a normal player, when you play pistol round, if you're on CT side, generally you just do a normal sort of layout, right? Just because that seems to work statistically the best. So in a situation like this, it does seem a bit odd, right? You got most of them out looking mid. You got one guy in connector that's looking towards A, and you have no one that's actually in A. So that's actually pretty interesting to note right off the bat. And let's see, how are the other guys looking here? Maybe 3. So they're probably expecting mid push, because I mean, if you watch any of the pros play like this, they almost always push down mid. Although if it's a pistol round, you might suspect something different. I suppose the point of this is probably that mid is an easy position for them to rotate to either bomb site A or B, right? Because generally on the pistol round, they're going to do something a little different. They're probably not going to play like they normally would, just pushing down middle, you know, testing the waters, trying to get a pick, and then moving to a bomb site. You do that with rifles because you can make the long-range shots and get picks and things. But with a pistol round, you generally see people just rushing something. They're going to either go all B or all A. So for the CT side, they're probably just camping out mid because it allows them the fastest rotate. If they go B, they're already halfway there. If they go A, they're already halfway there. Of course, the consequence of this is that if they do just push out right into A right away, they can secure the bomb site much more quickly. What button am I pressing this on? So we'll see Get Right get into a slight skirmish. And they must have seen them come out into A. Oops, let me pause this for a sec. You can see the smoke grenades went towards connector and CT spawn. So Exist, who was sitting in connector, would have noticed that like right away, called it out. You can see Forest is already rotating very, very quickly. Paza is still in mid. Paza, I hope I'm saying that right. Paza is still in mid. I suppose he's basically just in, I mean, you can see he's engaging Fifth Lauren, and he'll probably catch Forrest out too, which is kind of nice. I mean, right now, he can get 4 of his teammates into A, and he can delay two of the people that might potentially rotate. Well, technically he can only delay one of them forcibly. He can delay Forrest. Fiflaren could choose to back off. Actually, no, wait, what is his position? Well, Fiflaren could run for it. He could run for a connector and make it. But actually, actually he could jump back right now. Is he actually leaping out the window? Yeah, he is. So he's probably going to just run into connector, and he'll be fine. But Forrest will have to engage or risk getting killed. You can see these smoke positions are blocking connector and CT spawn. That's very vital. If you try an A push and you don't drop those smokes, it's pretty tough. They have a number of angles to get in on you. You don't really have as easy time to secure the bomb site. As an amateur player, as a pro player or as a very good player, this is very obvious. But as an amateur player, it might not be as obvious, right? Like when me and my friends were playing in the past, we didn't drop those smokes when we were first playing because we just didn't really think about it. You know, you run in and you kind of just treat every situation like in the moment. You don't really plan ahead as much. So we would oftentimes just come in, then we'd throw grenades. If we're like, oh, there's a guy in window room, then we'd throw a smoke grenade over there, rather than just being preemptive about it. So dropping those smokes is really important. Oh yeah, I can draw. Sweet. Okay, let's see. Let's watch Fiflaren come in, or maybe we should watch Forrest. Let's see who gets this kill here. So he's forced him to back off, which means he can come out and rotate. But both of them will get dropped, leaving only Exist and Freiburg from CT spawn now. This obviously gives Virtus Pro an edge because now they only have to, assuming they know both of them are there, which they probably do, this gives them an edge because now they only have to watch a single lane of attack. Since the bomb is planted, they're also on a timer, which makes it hard for Exist or Freiburg to loop around a window. And then the other problem, of course, is that like Snacks or someone could be already camping window, which makes it even harder to attack. So at this point, it's probably best for them to just push in from CT spawn and try and clean it up. But it's 2v5, so that's going to be extraordinarily difficult. Let's watch Exist. I should also mention I might have to do this broadcast in multiple parts, or yeah, I probably will have to because I'm going to run out of time here. I've been doing stuff all morning and I have to leave pretty soon, so I'll just get this started here and I'll have to pause and pick it up later. So if there's a weird break in the broadcast, that's why. Okay, so Virtus Pro secures the first round, which of course means that they're going to have quite a bit more economy. This is especially difficult for CTs because they generally have to save, they have pistols the first round, they'll have pistols the second round, they'll probably still have pistols the third round unless they do a soft buy. For Virtus Pro, this is great because they can, as you can see, they have 2 Galils, 2 AKs, and Paza is just running with just a pistol, but he's also got more grenades to help his team with, so he can play some sort of like support sort of a role, I guess you could say. Okay, so they're gonna switch to going down mid now, which makes sense because now they have the edge, so they can play like a normal sort of a round. They can go down mid, they can look for the different picks, and then they can make a choice. Do we want to go A or do we want to go B based on the circumstances? As you can see also, CT chose not to sit in window, or I'm not sure what Get Right's gonna do in a sec, but they're gonna play probably a little bit back. If you're running with just pistols, it's probably a good idea to put yourself in a position where the enemy has to come into a closer position. If you try and engage from long range, obviously you're going to get picked off because they have rifles. So let's see what happens. So it looks like Virtus Pro is going to take up like sort of, I don't know what you call it, aggressive defensive positions, or they're basically just looking for picks. Let's take a look and see if Paza can get anything. Okay, so he's basically just checking connector. And I suppose, let's pause that and think about that for a sec. It seems like you would want to send a rifle connector, right? Those are some long-range shots that he could have potentially got on Exist or Fiflaren. If you had a rifle, you might have got one of those picks right off the bat, but instead they sent their pistoler there. Now, of course, that might be because you don't want to risk losing a rifle to one of them. If he goes down, he's really not dropping him anything. He can instead just peek it. He can make sure connectors clear so they don't get shot in the back when they're running cat. If he does get killed, he doesn't have to worry about much. He can drop the grenades and everything like that. So maybe it's not it's probably a good idea in terms of risk aversion. It looks like Nip suspected that they're going B, probably because they dropped the smokes in window and connector. I'm assuming they probably saw something too. Maybe they saw some people on cat. So you can see Get Right is already transitioning over. Let's see, who should we watch? How about, I guess number 6 is leading the charge, which is Taz. Let's see what he pulls off here. Checking good corners and moving in nice and safe, looks like. Oh, Forest, nice. So now it's just down to Exist. Up against 3, so this is probably pretty hopeless. Yep. And they get the bomb plant, so not only do they get the win for the round, they get the bomb plant, so they're going to have pretty good economy again. And you can see that Nip will have to save. There's not too much to say on these first rounds like this. I mean, anytime you lose the first pistol round, you're probably going to lose the next round or two, just because you're weak. Although not always. I should mention that a lot of times with our amateur play. Actually, let me switch over here. With our amateur play, I've noticed that when we win a pistol round, oftentimes the second round we will actually lose. Mostly because we suck, but generally the other team will play suddenly very risky or just very strange. They'll do something that's really unexpected. And a lot of times we just get caught out. They'll get a quick 2 picks on us or something like that. They'll pick up our SMGs, and now they've really closed the gap. It's essentially it'll be 3v2 plus their 1 pistoler. Or well, they'll have. Well, I wonder how it often goes. I should probably look at that. Yeah, but anyway, a lot of times we still end up losing the second round, even though we have the weapon advantage. Just because of that crazy play. And you can kind of see it right now. I'll switch back to the game. You can see Nip is just stacking A. I mean, I guess on CT side you don't see it as much because it's more just a stack. But if the T side loses the first round and then they're just running with pistols the second or third round or whatever, they'll do some, they'll rush something all of a sudden unexpectedly or do something kind of crazy. And it usually catches us off guard, so be cautious of that. Alright, so you can see Freiburg is running up, and he's going to actually come through Subway. So this is kind of an example of something unexpected that they do, right? He's going to come up kind of right behind him. They're not really expecting him to be there because normally you would never do this. But since it's another pistol round, they don't have much to lose. They're going to go do something kind of crazy. Let's actually watch that play out. What else we got going on? See, Get Red has moved all the way through Palace. They're just going to try and do something really aggressive to try and close the gap. Let's see if he catches anyone up. Ooh. That was pretty good. I mean, that was pretty close. Just happened that Snacks jumped back and noticed him. What else we got going on here? Get Right has come behind him. Oh, no picks though. Kind of surprising. They didn't get 1 pick, but I suppose that happens. Alright, so now both teams now have to play differently than they've been playing because now it's basically a normal match. I mean, obviously you can see the economy is still a bit crazy, but Virtus Pro obviously has to be much more cautious how they play now because it's pretty, anyone could get picks at this point. Let's see, Forrest has moved up on Catwalk a little bit. You saw right there, Snacks went up and I must have flashed window. Yeah, he must have flashed window right here. What else we got? Looks like Freiberg or Forrest smoked apartments, and it looks like they're going to try an apartment rush. Or they're going to end up going to Subway. Let's see what happens. Wow, this really caught them off guard, kind of, if you think about it, right? Like, Nip is expecting them to go ace. Let me pause this for a second, think. So I suppose because they had a couple guys come up connector, and they had, they had what, 3 still here? No, they had 2 there and 1 that came Subway. Now they didn't know about the guy Subway, so they must have suspected that they were going to push through connector through those smokes. I don't know why they rotated so quickly though. Because that's not, I guess just having the guys in connector might be enough of a warning that they should move over here. And I guess Forrest is still sitting really nearby, but that's kind of interesting. Their mind games seem to work right at that moment. So 2v1, Snacks up against Get Right and Exist. Looks like a pretty standard firefight. I'm just kind of looking to see if there is any weird positioning or anything like that. It doesn't look like it. Yeah, so that was a nice successful retake. I think that seemed pretty standard. They kind of just were able to rotate quickly. Virtus Pro probably didn't have a ton of time to get, really situated into safe positions. Although I think they were in fairly good positioning. Yeah, Nip just had some good windows of attack. Okay, so let's see. So they dropped the bomb nearby spawn here. And looks like Nip is suspecting an A push, I suppose because of all the... Although these are their smokes, right? So it looks like they're keeping the bomb to the very back of them. They must be looking... They must have been thinking that maybe they could have gotten into A all of a sudden and they want the bomb really nearby so they can make that push. Yeah, so they're just looking for picks right now. So Nip has left B pretty undefended compared to A. I wonder if that comes from matches they've watched in the past, and Virtus Pro just likes to, doesn't push on B very often, or what? So this looks like it's going to be pretty tough for Exist. And it looks like he's just going to save, so... So basically the exact same thing again. Nip is expecting an A push. The way that they must be playing mid is like making them suspicious of A more so than B, I guess. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's okay. So another save round for Nip, which means they're probably going to do something a little different, or no? Well, here comes that A push finally. Although now that they've hit B a couple times, it looks like they're putting less guys on A. So this might work out pretty well for Virtus Pro, and they get the first pick, which means they're probably going to rush in right away. You can see the rotate happening. The moment they get that slight advantage, they want to be in there. And I mean, this should be a pretty easy cleanup for them, considering that it's a save for Nip, but Forrest is going to try and come up behind him. Which could work if Freiberg and Get Right don't get picked right off the bat. If he can just buy a little bit of time, although it looks like Get Right's going to get picked here too, which means it's going to be impossible for Forrest to do this. Yeah, if they could have just backed off a little bit. I mean, it'd be tough either way, but if Get Right and who was there, whoever else was there, could have just backed off a little bit longer, maybe Forrest could have came in and got a pick or two, but I mean, still, it'd be so tough. Virtus Pro is going to get a nice lead in this first match. As you can see, I mean, Nip has another pistol round to sit through. Which adds a lot of tension. I mean, every round after this one is going to be really vital for them to secure, to try and get their eco back into line. So you can kind of see, like, it looked like Nip was trying to guess what Virtus Pro was going to be doing in those first few rounds, like stacking A in the hopes that they're coming A, rotating to A really quickly because they thought they're going to push through connector or something. And Virtus Pro did a good job of just, you know, playing unexpectedly, I guess. And Nip guessed wrong, and now it's really hurt him. So now we're back to, I mean, it's 6v1, and this is basically the second real round they're playing, maybe the third. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so this is a bit different than before. You can see Virtus Pro is kind of fanning out. They're looking, I'm assuming, just for picks again. Freiberg must have suspected that he was there. I'm not sure whose smoke that was the first time. It's pretty risky. If he came through the smoke right at the right moment, he could get a pick on Freiberg pretty easily. So you can see they're putting two guys at right in B this time. Probably because they don't want to relive what happened before, which is a good idea, I suppose. But the bomb is way over by A, so they're probably just looking like Snacks leaped out. He's probably going to look for, what is he going to do, come cat or look for picks and basically just make Nip think that they're probably going B. Or just delay them from rotating. Freiberg and Forrest don't want to rotate because they're not exactly sure is the bomb actually going to come out right here. But they took it A, and Nip looks like they actually guessed it right this time. They said, let's just be patient. Let's not, you know, rotate quite yet until we see the bomb. And they got it. Guessed it right. What time is it? So in terms of like amateur strategy, I mean that's a little bit probably more advanced than just playing like standard rounds and making sure you're good at, you know, good at the basics and fundamentals and things. But those kind of, you know, doing things like that where you send like just snacks, say like to toss grenades in here, to do some firing, maybe even have a few guys. You can do things like send 4 people into B, and the bomb is actually in A, and he's just camped out in here waiting patiently. Those kind of strategies do work. I think they're a little bit more risky, although that might be mostly due to the fact that you just don't do them very often, so it's, you know... Although I think there's a bit of luck in it, right? I mean, you're basically hoping that the guy here, when he comes out into A, there's not someone just already still camping in a really strong position. But yeah, it can be kind of fun rounds to mess around with. So what do we got going on this time? It's like Bialy, however you say that. Just watching for Nip to come through, which, you know, is not a bad idea considering that Nip has come through their spawn a couple times. Forest, so they traded picks on Catwalk. Taz, where's Taz at? He's gonna come through. Did he get... Oh no, Snacks got that pick. From window right there. So it looks like they're going to push on A because they did get, I mean, they stopped Forest from shooting them in their back. So that's smart. I mean, if you're going to push on A, and they might, do they have smokes left? They do have 1 smoke, so they could smoke connector yet. Taz is in a good position to watch for the either, because Freiburg could either come through here, in which case Taz can pick him, or Freiburg will cross here and Taz will be able to see it and alert his teammates. So that's smart. I'm basically saying this to explain why they might not have chose to gun B, even though they got a pick on Forest. Because even though they got the pick on Forest, Freiburg was still camped out here. So he's already like, you know, he's hunkered down. He knows where to look. He would have an advantage on the rushing team in that sense. So if they can force Freiburg to move, I mean, they could do something like force Freiburg to move over here and then still go B, and then that way when they come into B, Freiburg's not camped out on them. You can take those kind of things into consideration. But pushing on A is good because, I mean, like I said, they got Forest, who can look all the way through here and get picks on Virtus Pro as they move in. And it looks like they got 1 pick in bomb site A, which means it's just weaker. And I'm assuming this Bialy or whatever probably saw that Exist went through here, I'm guessing. So they already know that, you know, it's 3v2. We know that Freiburg is probably in this area. And Exist they probably saw in here. So they know that this whole area is essentially safe, besides this little bit of a lane. And actually, that's it. And let's unpause this. So Neo is going to come down bottom. I'm assuming they told him that Exist was there. Yep, you can see Bialy. Looks like he's watching for it. And Taz got the pick on Freiburg when he crossed, so that was really good positioning. Let's watch Taz and see if we can get the pick from Pellis. Well, maybe they didn't know he was there. Otherwise, Taz probably would have been looking. But they got the pick anyway. I mean, once he gets that first pick, it's 2v1, they know exactly where to look. And they would have had a lot of time, even if he decided to push back through Terra Spawn and then come through here or something. I mean, that's a lot of time for the bomb to just tick, which, you know, adds to his stress level, trying to get out there and get it both a double kill and get the bomb defused. So they're in a really good position right there. Ouch. Okay, so They must have sent 2 NIP players there. They're probably worried because if they lose this round again... Whoa, what the hell was that? It's a crazy noise outside. I suppose they're concerned that if they lose this round again, they're going to have to save another eco, which means they're going to definitely lose at least probably another 2 rounds. So NIP is probably just, they probably just want to try and catch Virtus Pro off guard. So they'll send 2 players right in window to stare down mid, and hopefully they would have gotten, 2 picks, 3 picks. I mean, who knows how many they could have gotten. Obviously it didn't work. Which means, so we know that normally there's a guy here and normally there's 3 guys here. Virtus Pro probably knows that, so they know that there's going to be 2 guys in A and only 1 guy here. So they're probably going to push on B now, I would imagine. Of course, they don't know where Freiburg is, and if from the intel that they've gathered so far, they know NIP is playing a little bit different than they normally would, so they have to be cautious when they're coming in. I mean, for all they know, Freiburg could be camping some weird spot like here, or he could have been looking, whatever. Although I know for in terms of amateur strats, whenever we get picks like that, we just rush it. Because at an amateur level, you're not really getting that into the mind games of NIP playing a little bit more aggressive or something like that. So generally, we would have just been go B, and we would have just rushed right in. But I suppose on a pro level, you can't really afford to do that because someone like Freiburg could actually kill 3, 4, 5 of them in one burst. Okay, so Freiburg is probably, I would imagine he alerted his team and said that, holy shit, there's lots of stuff going down. And now they're going to have a pretty tough time. Exist is the only one left, so he's going to have a pretty tough time taking this back. That was a smart flash to try and basically get himself in there without having to worry too much about it. Force the opera back, but in the end, not useful enough. So, as you can see, NIP is going to have to save once again. And Virtus Pro must just be feeling awesome about this round so far. Or this match. I mean, they're just walking over him at this point. So another pistol round, we can expect, weird positions and weird sort of play. Ooh, Exist fired a little bit early there. Ooh, they did get a couple nice picks, but probably not going to be enough, I'm imagining. Yeah, not too much to say. I mean, just another save round and... Oh, surprisingly, the equipment value difference isn't really that much at this point, even though they've been losing a bunch. Something to take note of in amateur games when you get all upset because you've been losing a bunch. I mean, in terms of it, NIP, with their current gear and stuff, I mean, they're pro players, and if you're, you know that, when you're playing against people, you know that there's days when you're good and you're bad, and that's just a mental level, right? So if you can not get down on yourself, you're oh my god, it's 2-9, we're on CT, this is horrible, this sucks, and then you just start playing worse and worse and worse. Just remember, your ability to play good still exists inside of you, so you just have to remember, the equipment value is not that big of a deal. We can take this back. I mean, they would have to win a number of rounds in a row to force Virtus Pro to not be able to buy. But it's, it's never... I've seen, especially at amateur level, and even pro level, you see matches where it'll be a huge score difference at half or something, and then the other team will actually come back. And I mean, we've done it at an amateur level a number of times, so it's, you know, it's never really over till it's over. With the exception being, of course, when you get matched up against a team that is like unbelievably more skillful, which does happen with CS:GO matchmaking at sometimes. So Nip, this is not good for Nip. They already lost one of their riflers. Oh, could have been risky for Get right there. Oh man. So you got a couple of the guys really low. So this is right now this is looking pretty good for Nip. There's no bomb plant. They got the guys rotated right off the bat. Oh yeah, that's the thing I remember about this series, was that there was a lot of like bad nade tosses, especially with that alt fire grenade toss. Yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's so hard if you don't have smokes. I mean, neither of them can get the bomb plant down. All Nip has to do is listen for the typing, and yeah. And Nip did a good job of like wasting time for Virtus Pro. He essentially had to plant the bomb right there, or he had to get a double kill within what was it, like 7 seconds or 9 seconds or whatever it was, which is pretty tough. So that was a good job on Nip's part. So you can see they're still playing a little bit different. They're still playing pretty aggressive. Well, I mean, I guess maybe not. So Forrest is in a good spot to catch somebody out right now. Okay, so it looks like they made the call to push into A. Which really, I mean, like, Nip didn't move, so I mean, this is looking pretty good for, well, maybe not. It was looking good for Nip. Virtus Pro keeps catching him out, though. Yeah, I mean, that could have worked out pretty good for Nip. I mean, Virtus Pro tried to, get a pick and make a move, but they still had 3 camped out in A, but it still wasn't enough, which is kind of surprising. Okay, so it looks like back to a sort of standard mid push, except that it's another pistol round for Nip. So it looks like they're making some noise in the connector. They got window and connector smoked out. Oh, wow. That helped Nip a lot right there. Still going to be pretty tough, though. I mean, it's still pistols versus, despite it being 2v2, it's still pistols versus rifles, so. Ooh, but Virtus Pro found a nice window. They must have known both Nip were stuck up in apartments, and now they're panicking. Well, I don't know if they're panicking, but they're realizing, oh shit. So that was a good reaction from Virtus Pro. And it's, that's kind of like, I know a lot of amateur players have trouble making those sort of decisions. A lot of my like the friends that I play with and stuff, they will once we're like let's go B and we're in B and we're pushing on it from cat like they did say, and oh, is he gonna get it? Nice. Yep, needed that bad. So you know you don't always have to be completely committed to a bomb site. Instead, like they went into B, they saw that a couple of three of their guys got picked right off the bat, and they just make a decision like calmly, like hey, they're most likely have rotated to this position. They saw the bomb was here. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what intel they had. I don't know if they knew for certain that there was no one in A, but they probably knew at least. It's 2v2. They probably know at least one guy is in apartments, right? So they know there's at most it would be a 1v2 at A. So they made a good decision. Let's just rotate away. We'll either get the bomb plant or we'll catch the one guy out. We'll get the bomb plant. I mean, it's better than nothing. Is Forrest gonna be able to catch anyone out here? Wow, they are just cleaning up kills like crazy. So you can see like right away with this one when I think it was at Snacks. When Snacks showed up here and he was moving towards connector, that basically alerted the CT team to head to A. And it also like the moment he was spotted, Virtus Pro came out like right away. So I suppose I guess he would make that decision. I'm not like, because it seems like you could have this guy here and you could still have your guys towards B, right? I mean, but I guess, like, why would that ever happen? I suppose you have to ask that question, right? Like, why would he be here if the rest of his team is here and he's pushing towards connector? He must know that there's, like, that intel must tell you that, if he's actually making a move towards connector, his team must be coming there to support him, because he wouldn't put himself in a position where he could be shot in, from window or from catwalk. He wouldn't, like, it would be suicidal essentially to just walk in there by yourself. So I suppose that tells you enough to suspect that it's going to be A, at least statistically. Yeah. I'll have to think about that one a little bit more. I think I'm going to pause it here, and I'll play the next half at a later time, just because I'm going to have to get going. So, yeah. So, I guess see you at the other half.